In the quiet, isolated town of Redwood Grove, there was a legend that had long been buried under whispers and fearful glances. People who lived there knew never to wander into the old woods that bordered the town, especially not when the mist rolled in and the nights grew longer. But like many such legends, the tale of the creeping death had lost its edge over the generations. What remained was a vague warning, a cautionary story parents told their children to keep them from wandering too far. It all began one cold autumn evening when 5 high school friends decided to test the legend. Lisa, Mark, Jenny, Sam, and Travis were typical teenagers, restless, curious, and eager for a thrill. They had grown up hearing snippets of the story but dismissed it as nothing more than an old wives' tale. After all, nothing ever really happened in Redwood Grove. Come on, it's just a stupid story. What's the worst that could happen? Travis scoffed as they gathered around the edge of the woods, flashlights in hand and excitement in their eyes. It's not like we're going to see a ghost or anything, Lisa chimed in, rolling her eyes. But there was something uneasy in the air that night. The wind whistled through the branches with a low, mournful tone, and the leaves rustled like distant whispers. A thick mist hung low on the ground, curling around their ankles as if trying to pull them back. "Let's just go," Sam muttered, though his voice lacked its usual bravado. They pressed forward, following an old dirt path that cut through the heart of the woods. It was only supposed to be a short walk to an abandoned clearing where, rumor had it, the creeping death had first appeared many decades ago. As they moved deeper into the woods, the world outside seemed to disappear. The trees closed in around them, their branches twisted like gnarled fingers, blocking out the moonlight. "What even is the creeping death?" Jenny asked, breaking the silence. Her voice sounded small, swallowed by the darkness. "I heard it's some kind of curse," Mark answered, his voice tight with nerves. "Like, if you see it, you're doomed to die a slow, agonizing death." Or, Lisa added with a shiver, "it's a creature that sucks the life out of you. Leaves you as nothing more than a hollow shell." The laughter that followed was forced and quickly died away. They continued walking, but the farther they went, the stranger things became. The woods felt wrong, like a place out of time. The mist thickened, and the temperature plummeted, their breath visible in the dim light of their flashlights. Suddenly, a low, guttural sound echoed through the trees. It was like a growl, but deeper, almost vibrating through the ground. "What was that?" Jenny whispered, her voice barely audible. They stopped, straining to listen, but there was only silence. Then, without warning, Travis's flashlight flickered and went out. "Damn it," he cursed, shaking it. "Stupid batteries." But it wasn't just his flashlight. One by one, their lights began to fail until they were left in near total darkness, the mist glowing faintly around them like an otherworldly fog. "We should go back," Sam said, a note of panic in his voice.
"Yeah,
"Let's just." A shadow moved at the edge of their vision, tall and impossibly thin, like a dark figure draped in rags. It moved slowly, almost deliberately, as if it knew they were watching. "Who's there?" Mark called out, though his voice trembled. No response. The figure remained still, then began to drift closer, its outline blurring and shifting like smoke. The friends backed away, their hearts pounding wildly in their chests. "We have to go. Now," Lisa urged, grabbing Jenny's arm. But as they turned to run, the mist seemed to come alive. It coiled around their legs, their bodies, and their throats, like tendrils of some unseen force. They struggled, gasping for breath, but the mist tightened, dragging them down. And then they saw it. The creeping death. It was no creature of flesh and bone. It was an absence, a void that seemed to swallow the light around it. Where it passed, the air grew cold, and the ground withered. It moved with an unnatural grace, drifting through the mist like a shadow detached from its source. The friends screamed, but no sound escaped. They tried to run, but their limbs felt heavy, their movements sluggish. The creeping death hovered before them, its shape shifting and churning. It had no face, no eyes, yet they felt its gaze, a cold, unyielding presence that pierced their very souls. One by one, they collapsed, their skin paling, their eyes wide with terror. The creeping death wrapped around them, seeping into their pores, filling them with an icy dread that gnawed at their sanity. Their bodies twitched and convulsed as it drained the life from them, leaving only empty husks, their faces frozen in expressions of unimaginable horror. When it was done, the mist receded, and the creeping death vanished, leaving no trace of its presence. The next morning, the people of Redwood Grove found the bodies. 5 teenagers, sprawled out in the clearing, their skin cold and lifeless, their eyes staring blankly at the sky. No one could explain what had happened, but those who remembered the old legend knew. The creeping death had returned. From that day on, the woods were closed off, and the story of the creeping death was once again whispered in hushed voices. But there were those who still ventured too close, curious souls who didn't believe in old legends. And each time, the creeping death would appear, leaving behind nothing but fear, whispers, and empty bodies for the town to mourn. Because the creeping death wasn't just a legend. It was real. And it was always hungry.